Welcome to the Rob, Comrade, and Kale Show. Rob Sanders.
I don't care. My jokes don't go over. I don't care.
Comrade Mike Dobreski.
I don't care. We hate you. I don't care.
And Kale Hall.
This is stupid. Making noises on the show. You're like a crazy person. Why do you do this to your father and I?
The Rob, Comrade, and Kale podcast.
And welcome in to the latest edition of the Rob, Comrade, and Kale podcast. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining us. I represent the Clemson Tigers on this show. I have a couple of co-hosts. We will start with the man that claims to be from the upstate New York, but he's actually from Russia, the Comrade Mike Dobreski. Mike, good evening, sir.
It is good to be here. I mean, I'm feeling good. We got more good news today. The Big Ten is going to play some football. We got the U.S. Open in golf starting tomorrow in September. Just craziness. And the Gamecocks are 10 days away now from kicking things off and taking care of Tennessee. Life is good, my friend. Life is good.
We also have a third member of the show. He is from the real upstate, the upstate of South Carolina. He is known on YouTube as Carolina Jackpot. I call him Kale because he's my friend. What's up, brother?
What's up, Roberto? My second favorite night of the evening, or night of the week, so good evening. I always say that. I hope we are live on Facebook tonight as well as YouTube.
Yeah.
So we're on both. Good deal.
Yeah, I set that up last week on Sunday, and that's my fault. So I can admit when I'm wrong. But hey,
I think one thing that Kale and I can agree on one thing. You know, our priorities, Kale and I, are these three: God, family, and this podcast.
Absolutely.
God, fam, and pod.
Absolutely. You know, I find these random people on Twitter, and I'll just go tag the Comrade on it, and it's like, if I don't have time to deal with them, or I'm just bored of them, or I'm hungry, or I got to do my math homework or something, I'll just like, it's like throwing a piece of rotten meat out to the dog and just watch them go at it, just verbally eviscerate these idiots that were attacking an innocent man today for a crime that he did not commit. I just thought hilarious.
Apparently, I missed that mix, but the Comrade and I did have conversations with Atlanta Braves fans last night that we may have convinced them that after the third foul, that's an out. That's the conversation we were having with dummies last night.
Okay, today I had no idea about this. I got off work a little bit early, and I listened to some Tater radio this afternoon. You know, the mindless drivel that keeps me entertained in the afternoon. And they said that Zach Smith was trolling Dabo on Twitter this morning after they found out that the Big Ten was going to be able to play football. So I went to look to see what all the hullabaloo was about. So Zach Smith posted a GIF on Twitter. It said Dabo's reaction this morning when he heard about the Big Ten news. And it's just Dabo like getting down on the ground and beating the ground, you know, after a play in a game. Yeah, totally freaking innocent. They were like, whoa, he's trolling. Yeah, and I think Qualkenbush was the one that said, well, perhaps he needs to go back to rehab one more time. And just verbally shooting this guy down the damn shitter. I mean, he's making a fucking joke. Get over it. I've listened to his podcast. I mean, the thing has like 150 episodes, and he puts Dabo over in his podcast. I don't know how many fucking times. He did an interview this summer. I listened to it on the way back home from Pennsylvania when I was driving home from vacation with Taj Boyd. And they talked about, you know, the African-American athlete in sports and his experience at Clemson and all that stuff. And they were all just really complimentary to Dabo. So I'm like, y'all are just, you know, like trying to find something just a little bit perturbed. Yeah, just something to bitch about and be damn perturbed and pissed off about. It was a fucking joke. Learn to take a damn joke. Get the damn stick out of your ass, Clemson fans. Okay?
Well,
I mean, you're not so damn high and mighty that you can't laugh at something that's fucking funny.
Yeah, hey, real quick. If you are a Clemson fan and you're gonna mock a guy who has a rap sheet that involves beating women, either you need to kind of just take a step back and say,
Clean up
wait,
your own backcourt.
I've been a Clemson fan for 2 years, and maybe I need to do a little research. We have a coach on our staff who's done that. So, like, a lot of these Clemson fans set it up in a T for me, and then you kind of call them out on that. So just kind of, you can't really be, don't get all high and mighty over, beating women when you've got McDaniel on your coaching staff.
No. We've expressed this before.
Okay.
And you got your ass handed to you about DeAndre McDaniel. So I'm not going to go through it again. DeAndre McDaniel, you had your dick kicked in about this. I'm not going to do it.
Okay. Is he on your staff right now?
I'm not doing this, Mike.
Okay. I'm just saying. Oh, don't pull the whole. The girl changed her story when they got it together.
Mike,
Yes.
Mike, we live in a country where you're supposed to go by what the court says. If you pull his rap sheet, does it show a conviction?
No, because he took a plea deal. He took PTI. He still beat a woman.
Okay, so it doesn't show a conviction.
He still beat a woman. And OJ didn't murder anybody, Rob.
The court said he didn't.
OJ didn't murder anybody either, right?
Said he didn't, Mike. Sorry.
Michael Jackson didn't molest anybody either, right?
That's right.
What happened was he brought the blue vein, purple headed trouser trout to the fight, and he suddenly forgot all about the charges.
Let's do our picks. We got to get into those in a moment. We got to take care of our sponsors first. The first we'll do is Callaway's Bar and Grill out in West Columbia, Highway 1, diagonal from the Walmart. Go by and have yourself some lunch. Get yourself a good cold beer. I'm sure they'll have the football games on every weekend, so you can go by and watch football. They do the social distancing thing, so if you're upset about that, you can try it and go and see what they do. It's a good place to go at Callaway's Bar and Grill. Callaway'sBarandGrill.com. They sponsor our Callaway's Bowl Pick'em Challenge. Cale Hall will be attending, in the works anyway, to attend our live show there on December the 4th. We're going to have all three of us in the same building, Mike. That might blow that thing off the torso there, buddy. I'm really looking forward to that. So we'll have more details on that as it comes about.
Shout out. Thank you. Hello, Ballard Sports Media over on YouTube, and also over on YouTube, Wesley Abrams. Wes, where did Jeremy Pruitt say that your team hadn't been practicing blocking and tackling? I have not seen this. He did a press conference. Was it on YouTube? Did he say something that had to do with high school?
I don't know.
Because that's what Jeremy Pruitt uses the term high school a lot when he gives his interviews.
Like Governor McMaster does. The skews. It's kind of funny. Anyway, we have to thank our sponsor there. We also need to thank our good friends at DNC Trucking and Transport, the No Spin Zone segment with the Comrade. Comrade, read away.
It sucks to be a Gamecock. I wish they had a man with a character that Dabo Swinney has to run my football program. Coastal Carolina may be ranked in the next poll. My Gamecocks may not end up ranked this season. Betty Wilson hates a couple of things. Me, and when Little Dennis smells like country ham. I am the reason Cale Hall pisses in his sink. Painful to be a Gamecock. Go Tigers.
That message courtesy of Dennis Wilson, DNC Trucking and Transport. Maybe the last set of facts that come from the Comrade. He will spin all night. Thank our patrons, Lawton Swan, Thomas Dana Young, Stacy Hamp, Keith Harrelson, Jamie Phillips, Tabitha Sims, Robert Knight. Also, Positive Mike, Lisa Stair Harkins, Jeff Pritchett, Christian Young, Eddie Hicks, Sally Donegan, and Melanie Bookhart. They all support the show. If you want to be a patron, go to robincomrade.com. Click on the Patreon link there, and you can help support the show. All right, so we have our Callaway's Bowl Pick'em Challenge, gentlemen. I say bowl, it's just the pick. Why do I keep saying bowl? Mike, I tell you what, the next time you get to see me, if I say bowl one more time, I'm going to let you like backhand pimp slap me because I keep giving it the wrong verbiage. It's the Callaway's Pick'em Challenge.
Good.
All right.
I can do that.
Yeah. So there you
I
go
can
with
do
that. Mike, explain the Callaway's Pick'em Challenge to everybody just in case they don't know.
The Pick'em Challenge right now, we're in week 2, and this year is a little bit different in the age of COVID. We usually do 5 games a week, but in the age of COVID, we're doing 7 games a week to protect us from games being canceled or the season ending quicker, trying to get a legit champion. So we got 7 games this week. We select the games on Sunday night. We have a discussion on our podcast Sunday night. It's always the Clemson game. It's always the Gamecock game. Of course, Gamecocks aren't playing this week. And then we pick the other games that are most kind of notable for the podcast people and our listeners and viewers. So we've got 7 games tonight to pick. We pick our games on Wednesday. This is the best part of the podcast because this is free. I mean, you're getting basically gambling advice for free on this podcast. And of course, I went 7-2 last week. 7-2, bam, because the computer does not lie. And so you're here to get these picks, and these are picks that you can sell. You can listen to this podcast and sell these picks to people and make money if you wanted to. I mean, it'd be kind of crappy of you, but you could do it and take credit for it.
Anyway, I'm going to share the picks here with the folks watching online. As I actually know, yeah, there it is. I shared the wrong screen. Hold, please. Anyway, we're going to have the picks right up here in front of you, and you can check them out right now. I was kind of upset we didn't have Coastal Carolina in the mix, but we don't normally put Friday night games on there. I think that's why the Comrade left them out, and I'm hoping why Comrade.
We try not to do that unless it's Clemson or Carolina play, but we try not to have games that are played before Saturdays because it gives people more time to get picks. And people have busy lives. People forget to get picks in sometimes. And if you screw up with the schedule, have a game on Thursday or Friday, it can screw people up. We're trying to make it fair.
Carolina playing this week.
Yeah, they're playing Campbell, Kale.
The Camels.
How do you play a fucking soup?
Campbell.
Campbell is a soup.
I work with a dude who
is it split pea or is it that chunky stuff?
It's
if it's the chunky stuff, I could be in trouble.
It's the Campbell Camels, Kale.
Camels,
Come on, man.
I've never seen that variety.
Yeah. Anyway.
Must be a new item.
Must be a new item. Anyway, the first pick of the night is Syracuse on the road at Pitt. Syracuse had some issues up at North Carolina. They got basically throat punched in the fourth quarter. Pitt had no problems with their opening game as they beat Austin Peay 55-0. Comrade, we'll let you go first here. Who you got, Syracuse or Pitt? Pitt is a 20.5-point favorite.
Okay, once again, I am back to my computer. Last year, I had too much of my heart into play, and I had it horribly. We're back to the computer. The computer said last week.
What? Hold on, Comrade. You're dropped. Comrade, what'd you do? Did you mute your mic? What happened there, Comrade? You broke out on us. Yeah, you muted your mic there, Comrade. Undo that.
I didn't mean. Anyway, so the computer last week was almost correct. They had Syracuse losing a close game to UNC for 3 quarters. That was the case. Okay, games they lost. But once again, the computer says that Syracuse will lose, but in a tight one. The computer says Pitt 33, Syracuse 26. So my math is correct. Take Syracuse with the points plus 20.5. The Cuse to cover.
Kale, what's your pick in this game, buddy?
Yeah, I'm going with the Comrade and the computer. If you look over this series, Syracuse and Pitt, they're both. Syracuse is in the Atlantic, Pitt's in the Coastal on normal seasons, and they're the every year rival. If you go look at this thing over the past 5 years, it's a 7-point differential between the two, and that's running. Last year, Pitt won this game 27-20. They had 9 sacks though. Versus Syracuse. Last week, you looked at Syracuse and you thought, God, look at that final score. Like, man, they played like shit. They only trailed 10-6. at the end of 3 quarters. It just their fourth quarter, but the inability to put up points and have a decent game offensively costs a team that has a pretty good defense. We know all about that. I know all about that. My coach knows all about that. So with that being said, this game is always one that's kind of wacky. When Syracuse was really good a couple of years ago, I think Pitt came into their house and upset them. I think when Syracuse has been really shitty several years ago and Pitt was pretty good, Syracuse went into Heinz Field and knocked them off. I just last year, if you look at it last year, talking about a big win. Pitt won big last week. I know it was just Austin Peay, but they won big out of the opener. And last year, if we want to kind of look back at the big wins, their big win was against UCF, the upset win at home against UCF, and they broke the big streak. The next week, they played Delaware. They were a 30-point favorite. They won by 3 points. So it's like they came out and kind of played down a little bit. Syracuse's new defense didn't have a huge problem last week with Sam Howell. So, I don't think that 3-3-4 defense that they're playing is going to have a huge problem with Kenny Pickett. And he's not as talented as Sam Howell. So, I'm taking Syracuse here to cover this spread.
I like my big thing with this game is I think people look at that Pitt game and they see, and these are people that they just look at highlights, okay? And they look at it and they're like, man, Pitt won 55-0. Wow, look at that. And then they look at that North Carolina game and they're like, man, they got blown out. How the hell did that happen? Syracuse sucks. I don't think Syracuse is going to keep it that close, where it's like it's a touchdown game in the fourth quarter. But 20.5 points, that half point gets me. So I'm going to take Syracuse plus 20.5. I think their defense is pretty good. And Coach Baber said in his press conference that the offense is going to take 2 or 3 more weeks just to get themselves squared away. And I kind of believe that. But his defense looked really good. I think they had 2 picks and a fumble recovery against North Carolina.
Same defensive back, Andre Cisco.
Yeah,
Cisco. Sam Howell twice. He's getting up there in Israel Mukwamu territory as far as picking off the same quarterback multiple times.
Yeah, and both teams may go 4-8 if they played 12 games. Good, Kale. Houston will play at Baylor. Baylor is a 7.5-point favorite in this game. Comrade, you pick first, sir.
The computer they love them some Baylor Bears, or they hate Houston. I can't figure it out. But the computer, which by the way, P Digits asked what computer I have. I can't really go into details of that. Okay, it's a system. It just spits out facts to me. That's all I'm going to say.
It runs on MS-DOS.
Okay, it just spits out. I plug in things I feel are important, and it tells me what the score will be on Saturday. That's what it does. So anyway, the computer says Baylor 43, Houston 18. So not close. I'm taking the Bears to cover bigly in this one.
Are you making up your own words now? Holy shit.
Hey, that's one.
Kale, what's your pick, buddy?
That computer's got some issues. DOS may be the least of them. I'm looking at these 2 teams. First meeting since 1995. Last year, we know Baylor was 11-3, and 2 of the losses were to Oklahoma. However, the majority of their Big 12 games, they just barely won them, except for the game against Kansas, which they won 61-6. But I digress. Houston went 4-8. This is like the most injured team in college football besides the Gamecocks. Had some players transfer out also during the season. Notably of which De'Aaron King just decided to gas it after about 3 or 4 games. If you look in Phil Steele's book this year, which I just picked up the other day, I usually pick that up in late June, but I picked this up just the other day. $21 with tax included at your local Barnes & Noble if you're interested. Houston is one of his 14 most improved teams in the country this year. They're returning 11, no, excuse me, that's some other numbers, 9 starters. 19 starters, excuse me, across in between the offense and the defense. That quarterback threw 11 touchdowns and 9 picks last year after he took over for Garrett King, who kind of just shit on the team and left, saved himself a year of eligibility. So he'll have to improve on that a little bit. But Baylor, they lost 9 starters off the defense. That defense wasn't great. Now, you are bringing in a head coach, Dave Aranda, who was a defense coordinator. It's his first year as a head coach. We know that Dana Holgerson can win games. His son is actually the backup quarterback there, if that means anything. Experience, if this Baylor, this defense at Houston can slow Baylor down a little bit, Charlie Brewer is still the quarterback. He still has those wide receiver weapons. They don't have a lot in the game as far as rushing the ball. I see Houston covering this spread all day long. That's lock, stock, and 2 smoke barrels. They cover the spread all day long. And if I was you, and if I wasn't scared, I would drop a little bit on the old money line and say Houston wins the game straight out. Oof. I mean, I think that Baylor is that inexperienced on both, especially the defensive side of the ball. Really, really inexperienced. And Houston, most injured team in the country last year. Like I said, that was not a 4-8 team.
Well, let me give you this. For me, I have started looking at the 247 Sports total team composite. Okay, and what that is it tells you exactly the recruit where they finished in recruiting with the class that they have now. Meaning that on the team right now, you've got X amount of 4 stars, 5 stars, etc. If you look at the Big 12. The overall leader, by the way, is the Georgia Bulldogs at 990.47. If you look at the Big 12, the top team in the Big 12 obviously is Oklahoma. Excuse me, no, it's Texas. I'm sorry, I thought it was Oklahoma. But number 4 is Baylor. They're at 642 points, and they've got, according to this, no 5 stars, but 10 4 stars. And an average rating of 85.53. But if you look at the AAC, right there up top is Houston. They average out at 83.74. If you took them and put them in the Big 12, they would finish right behind the Baylor Bears as far as talent that they have and depth and everything else. The line is whacked on this thing. I don't know what – Comrade's computer must be an old version of ColecoVision when he played this one, because Houston will cover, and I'm with Kale. They might pull out the win. So there you go. There's my pick. Give me Houston in the 7.5.
Don't mock the computer. Don't mock it.
I'm just going to call it Comrade Vision, not ColecoVision. Up next is App State and Marshall. Looks like it'll be a close game. App State, a 3.5-point favorite. They did not cover the spread against Charlotte last weekend. Marshall beat the hell out of whoever it was that they played. Comrade, what's your pick in this game?
All right, the computer pulled this one up, and it's got App State winning this game by a score of 29-21 and covering that spread. Take App State to beat We Are Marshall in this one, -3.5.
All right, Kale, what you got?
Yeah, last week they did fail to cover against Charlotte. I want you to look at something. App State, 512 yards offensively. Charlotte only had 280 yards. App State had the ball inside their red zone 2 times or 3 times, threw 2 picks, and also fumbled on the Charlotte 4-yard line. They also, after a touchdown, kicked the ball off, and Charlotte returned the thing 97 yards for a touchdown. So there were some first-game jitters, like you said, and some first-game mistakes. I think they're going to clean that up. You know, they say a team's biggest, jump in improvement is from the first game to the second game. I think they're going to clean that up. This is a matchup of two old-time Southern Conference rivals. If we look at this thing 20 years ago, when Marshall had been mossing everybody for a few years, and they put them in the MAC, and you remember Byron Leftwich getting carried down the field that game, and threw that touchdown basically off of his knees because both of his legs would give out. Hey, if you said look forward to 2020, which one of these do you think would be the more impressive team and more highly thought of in college football? I mean, I would have thought that Marshall would have made the jump to like the ACC or something. I mean, honestly, they were on that kind of trajectory, but it's just like it kind of petered out, man. Kind of petered out. They had all that momentum with the movie, the story, just everything, and it's just like I don't know. And we joke a lot. I'm getting off on a tangent here. It's like the recruiting in that area of the country, when Kentucky and Louisville and these teams started getting a little bit better, it's kind of like they don't have that many really, really good football recruits in that area of Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, and a lot of they got kind of spread out. You had some kids go to Ohio State, some go to Cincinnati, some went over here to Louisville, and some to Kentucky. And some obviously to West Virginia. So I just don't think they were able to recruit at the level that they thought they would be able to. But at any rate, looking at last year, Appalachian State, they failed to cover the spread at home against Charlotte. The next week, they went to North Carolina. They covered the spread, and they won as an underdog. The next week, they failed to, or not the next week, later on in the year, they failed to cover the spread against Georgia Southern at home. They lost. And then the next week, they went on the road to South Carolina, and we all know what happened. Later on in the year, actually, they failed to cover the spread at home against Texas State. They went on the road the next week to Troy. They covered the spread, and they won. To me, I think this is a no-brainer. I think App State covers the spread. They win. I think they have a more talented team. Marshall put up 59 points against Eastern Kentucky. That's great. It's a cakewalk. That was no competition whatsoever. It's a weak FCS team. Give me Appalachian State here to cover the spread in this game. Take care of business against the Thundering Herd. I would be very surprised if they cover the number here. It's just they're starting a redshirt freshman quarterback who didn't even know he was going to be starting until like a month ago, when their incumbent quarterback Isaiah Green entered the transfer portal suddenly.
Yeah, there you go with that. I agree with a lot of what Cale said there. I just think that App State's offense is just humming, and I think they had some turnovers in that Charlotte game. It was it looked like they were playing in a fog. I mean, it really did. So I'm in the camp of I think that they have an opportunity to open it up, and I think they win that game. They'll pull away and probably win by 10 points. So give me App State to cover the 3.5. Up next, UCF at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, kind of everybody's sweetheart this week. There were a lot of people that weren't on that bandwagon. Now it's overflowing with folks. They're trying to get on the 414 there with Jeff Collins, and Georgia Tech playing some pretty good football down there at Florida State. Actually, it wasn't very good football. If you go back and rewatch that game, they had 3 kicks blocked. So special teams was an absolute disaster. And I think the big thing with that game is that Florida State's just a shit show. That's pretty much the only thing that I can come up with. I rewatched the majority of that game. They're not very good. But UCF comes to town to open up with Georgia Tech. Comrade, what is your pick for this game?
A week ago tonight, the computer told you that Georgia Tech would not only cover the spread last week, but win the game outright. And of course, everyone laughed. Computer's dumb, but the computer was dead on. It was dead on. Now, I'm just sending people in the chat room. Okay, so now without looking at my computer, okay, this is a classic case of Georgia Tech with the win. Everyone jumps in the bandwagon. Without using the computer, naturally, what you want to do now is go against the team that everyone's jumping on, okay? And so my first thought is I want to take UCF to cover, but then I have to check with the computer to make sure it adds up. And the computer tells me the same thing. The computer says UCF wins this game 37-26. I got the computer on my side. I've got the basic betting logic that you always bet against the team. It's kind of that whole idea of the recency bias. Now Georgia Tech is for real. Everyone jumps on. You always want to go against that grain a little bit, boys and girls, okay? Uncle Comrade's here to tell you about that. So take UCF to cover and win this game. I do like Georgia Tech. I like Jeff Collins. The future is bright, but this week the UCF 15-time national championship team will take care of Georgia Tech.
Cale, what's your pick on this game, man? Are you buying what Georgia Tech is selling, or are you going with UCF?
I'm not buying it, not by a country mile. Not even if it was buy one, get one free. I looked at that game last week. Florida State had them beat, and they just gave that game away. They pissed it away. It's not a testament to how good Georgia Tech is. It's a testament to how shitty Florida State is. And if you watch my Carolina Jackpot videos like you should be, on Sunday you would see that I named them as one of my turds of the week. Florida State, just terrible. But we're not talking about them right here. I'm talking about Georgia Tech. Just offensively, I think that UCF just has so many weapons, and I think they're just hungry right now, just ready to put them all on display, just to get out there and get going with it. So I take the Golden Knights. I'll take them to cover and win this here. I think that they got a bone to pick too. Not really a bone to pick. It's not really a revenge matchup, but it's kind of like last year. Pitt, the team that I refer to as the wet fart of the ACC, kind of embarrassed them a little bit. So I think that they will be out to give a little bit of retribution for that one as well. So I'm taking the Golden Knights to cover in this game in Atlanta. I think that they'll come out there and Georgia Tech's not going to have an answer for what they're doing offensively. They're not going to be able to score enough to keep up. And I think they pull away and win rather handily, and then maybe afterwards go get themselves a burger at the varsity if they don't get robbed walking across the I-85, 75 connector. And who knows? Hit the town after that.
I too am taking UCF, and it has nothing to do with Georgia Tech. I just think that they get wound up when they go into a Power Five team's building. They really do. Now let's just kick the brakes here a little bit on Georgia Tech. Remember, this is the team that lost to the Citadel at home last year.
My God, who would do that?
I wasn't bringing that up.
That's a really good Citadel team.
Well, but no, I mean, I
They must have been good as hell.
A lot of great work to do, a lot of work left to do to make them great, but I think they're just a little bit off, and I think people are going to pick Georgia Tech because they're at home. UCF will cover. I think they win like 40-15, something like that, 40-10.
Damn, dude, no fucking respect for the Yellow Jackets.
No, I just have a lot more respect.
You straight up reached up, slapped him in the mouth like he was a Woody Dantzler.
Exactly.
Woodrow.
All right, so give me UCF -7.5. The next game, Charlotte and North Carolina. This is a matchup the Comrade doesn't like. In fact, I'm shocked he put it on here because Will Healy should be the next coach at South Carolina to replace the piece of shit they have. And North Carolina is the real Carolina, as they pretty much throat fucked South Carolina last year. But Charlotte is a 26.5-point underdog. They did cover the spread against the
Mountaineers.
Mountaineer Upstate.
Yeah. Will they do the same with North Carolina? Comrade, it's your pick.
Last week, we went 7-2. Charlotte, one of the games we won. The computer predicted wisely in that game there. The UNC-Syracuse game, for 3 quarters, the computer had it right as well. UNC with a backdoor cover. I do not think this, for not my computer, I think UNC is fraudulent. I don't think they're as good as everyone thinks they are. And last week, they kind of showed me that too. Syracuse is not very good, and they had a pussyfoot in Syracuse for 3 quarters. Okay, 26.5 points is too many points to be given. That's just me thinking, comrade brain thinking. But I put it in the computer. And the computer told me Charlotte loses this game 38-13. That's 25 points, Rob. The spread is 26.5. Charlotte hangs on for dear life and covers the spread in a wild one late for the gamblers in the world. Okay? Charlotte hangs on to cover the spread. Take the 49ers to cover 26.5 points.
What the fuck are we doing out there?
We're getting Kale's pick, virtual Kale. Kale, what you got, brother?
You know, Charlotte's quarterback, that Chris Reynolds, that guy is going to be out for this game against UNC. He apparently got hurt in that Appalachian State game, but then played like the whole game, I guess. Look, I think North Carolina's got to make a statement in this game. They played really well in the fourth quarter, covered the spread against Syracuse, looked good, made the final score look good. But, they didn't really blow them out yards-wise. Like I said, last week, Charlotte, I don't think that offense is a little bit of a farce, in my opinion. 280 yards. What's the line? 20 how much?
26.5.
Half, Kale.
26.5. That's not that many points. Look, dude, they got too many weapons. You're talking about 2,000-yard rushers, almost 3 1,000-yard receivers in this quarter. But I don't see Charlotte. I don't see them being able to compete with them defensively. I just don't think they can hold up. I think North Carolina covers the spread in this game. I think they blow them out of the water.
I agree with Kale, who keeps dropping his headset there.
Yeah.
I like North Carolina to cover 2. Sam Howell's not going to throw 2 interceptions against Charlotte. That's not happening on any planet. In fact, he may not play the third and fourth quarter. He may play one series in the third, and that's it. North Carolina's going to run roughshod over Charlotte. They win big. Give me the Tar Heels. Up next, the Citadel at Clemson. The Citadel coming in from the SoCon. 43.5-point underdog. People like, I don't like the non-conference games, but I like this. And the reason I like it is because the Citadel was on Clemson's schedule and they were able to make it happen. And the idea is that money will go to fund a lot of the Bulldogs program. So from that aspect, hello, wife, have a good night. From that aspect, I like what Clemson and the Citadel came up with. It means a lot to both programs. I'm going to pick first. I'm taking Clemson to cover the 43.5. The Citadel they don't have enough Joes, man. They really, really don't. Against these option type teams, Coach Venables has it locked in. Clemson may win by 50 and maybe even more than that. So 43.5, I'm taking Clemson to cover. Conrad, what's your pick?
All right, this is not the strength of the computer. Whenever you have an FCS matchup, the computer is a little bit wonky, so I don't tend to use the computer on these games. So I'm going to use a little common sense here. I just don't think the Citadel can score enough points. I think the only way you can really get to Clemson is through the air, and I don't think Citadel can do that. So then you have to wonder, well, how many points will Clemson score? I was shocked last week Clemson didn't cover. Shocked. And so this year what I'm going to do is this. Whenever I'm in doubt of the Clemson game, whenever I'm in doubt, okay, I'm going to pick Clemson to cover because that way I can't really lose. If they cover, I win the pick. If they don't cover, I can laugh at Rob. So I'm kind of on the edge right now. I mean, not really, but I just don't think, I think Clemson will score 50, okay? The Citadel, do they get a touchdown? I don't know. They might get one. They might have a little backdoor cover in there, but I think Clemson goes for 54 points, maybe 54-7, something like that. I'm going to take Clemson to cover.
Jackpot, what you got?
Yeah, I think I'm looking at like 56-7 Clemson, 63-7, 63-0, something like this. It's just I just don't think that the Citadel is going to be able to muster any points here. I mean, they lost by what 20, almost 30 points, I think, to a shitty South Florida team last week. So I mean, and Clemson, the most talented team in the country, if not second most. I mean, I think we'll see a lot of DJ Ukulele and Tyson Tama in this game. I don't see the starters playing much after halftime. They're not going to play after halftime. I think Clemson covers spread here. 43 seems to be a little bit short to me.
Final game for our picks this week. Miami is on the road at Louisville. Louisville is a 1.5-point favorite. Comrade, you pick first, sir.
These are two teams I like. I kind of like Louisville this year, being a little sleeper. I think Miami, not that they're back to the 80s or 90s or the 2000 Hurricanes, but I think they're much further along than Florida State ever will be, or here coming in the near future. I like their team. I like King. I like the quarterback. And the computer agrees. The computer has Miami winning this game. We find it 38-29. 38-29, the Papa John Stadium. Is it still called that, by the way, or no?
No, he's a racist.
Okay, you changed the name. Okay, so whatever. Pizza Hut Stadium.
Cardinal Stadium.
Okay, so Cardinal Stadium.
Pizza Hut, not Domino's either.
It's be called Johnny U Stadium, Johnny Unitas. But anyway, I think I like Miami. I really like Miami this year. I think they're the second best team in the ACC, and I think Louisville's probably the third best team in the ACC, and then maybe the Tar Heels after that. So I think Miami beats them and makes a little statement here in the ACC. Take the Canes to cover. The computer agrees. Canes to cover. They're going to win the game outright. 1.5 points is for gravy.
Whatever the fuck.
All right, Virtual Kale with whatever the fuck there. Comrade, interesting you go there with the Canes. Kale, which way are you going, man? Are you going Cardinals or Canes?
My issue here with Miami is that last week they started that game off really sluggish and slow. It seemed like to me against UAB that they made some mistakes early. They dropped the punt, and turned the ball over again against the UAB team with a really good defense, with the offense that was so-so. You're not going to be able to do that against Louisville, a team with not really great defense, with an offense that is lights out. So last week, they won 35-21 against Western Kentucky, but they were the benefit of a couple of turnovers and excuse me, let me go back and redo that one. Western Kentucky was the benefit of a couple of turnovers and some really good field position. If Louisville have cleaned their game up a little bit, they'll probably won that game like 35-7. And Western Kentucky is not a team that's a slouch. So I just think that this point in time that Louisville is just a little bit further along in the program rebuilding process than Miami is. I feel better about Louisville's coach. I don't like Miami's coach. I think that you listen to him in his interviews, he just sounds like he's full of shit, and he really doesn't know what's going on. I don't know. I don't even know why they hired that guy. But at any rate, they're really talented, and I think they can make a run and knock off these teams. But I think they're going to do what they have been doing for like the past however many years, and that's disappoint their fans and fall short of expectations. I think Louisville covers the spread, wins this big primetime matchup at home in Cardinal Stadium.
All right. Well, my pick, I think it's going to be close. So with that, I'm going to go back to the 247 Sports overall talent composite. Okay. Where the teams are right now. You want to take a guess of where Miami is ranked in the ACC there, comrade? You can go first. As far as the roster right now.
Right now, this is for the last 4 recruiting classes?
It's the team they have right now as far as total talent. Where do you think Miami ranks in the ACC? 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 9?
right with I know their future recruiting class is looking pretty good in the next couple of years, but I don't know. I'd say 5.
All right, Cale, where are you at, brother? You got to pick
3.
3. 3 is absolutely right. That's where Miami is, right behind.
Win something like on The Price is Right.
Yeah.
I get spin the wheel. Play
you get to spin the wheel, Cale. That's so great.
Yeah.
They're killing FSU right now recruiting wise. Like for this year, the next. I mean, they're gapping FSU for the battle.
Hard to do it.
Florida.
FSU shit show.
Yeah, they're putting a big.
I hate those motherfuckers. I will never take them to cover anything again after last week.
So mad that he was posting videos on the Carolina Jackpot channel. He was big fucking mad at Florida State.
You know, Rob. I mean, can you blame me? I mean, I picked them. They were you know, you got a brand new coach who's coming in. I mean, and albeit, I mean, you're not hiring in, you know, somebody from the NFL or something like that. But I mean, damn, I mean, this dude from Memphis, this Mike Norvell, I mean, it was a big hire for them. It was a good hire for them. I mean, especially when you consider what they've looked like the past few years and where they've been. And it's just like I thought they would have some momentum. I mean, they have a first rounder on the defensive line. I mean, they got a really good wide receiver, and I thought, well, you know, hell, he should be able to put, you know, maybe, you know, the solution here will be able to put these parts together and make it work in some kind of synchronization. And then they just go out there and they play ho-hum football for 3 quarters and it just barely beat or ahead of a team that was fucking 3-9 last year. And then in the 4th quarter, they just absolutely lay a fucking turd and lose the damn game outright. I mean, I should be mad. They suck. I mean, they were horrible. I mean, they were like my version of the Gamecocks.
They were a shit show.
A week. It was like my week to bitch at somebody that wasn't the Gamecocks, but he wasn't. Now, I looked at young 40-year-old Mike Norvell, and he looked like a young Will Muschamp on the sidelines to me, confused, torn, embarrassed, and sad.
Yeah. I don't know where else to go with that.
Bitching about anonymous sources.
Will Muschamp should be fucking embarrassed.
Exactly, Virtual Kale. Virtual Kale has it right. But getting back to what I was talking about, Miami is 3rd in the conference as far as overall talent. Louisville's at number 9. Number 9. Now, I love Tutu Atwell. I love a lot of those guys they've got there. But when I really stop and think about it, my heart tells me to go with Miami. And when I look at Louisville, I don't see anything on the defensive side of the ball that really sparkles for me. I don't see anything that's where Miami's not going to be able to try to score some points. Derek King's going to have his Heisman Trophy coming out party this weekend. He's going to do it at the expense of Louisville. Now, Louisville's going to score some points. Make sure we put that out there. But I think Miami wins that game outright. 1.5. They get the 1.5. So give me Miami to win that game. I love this 247 Sports talent composite that they have, and it tells you exactly where your team sits. So you can look at it and say, hey, you know, why do we have so much talent? Or do we have enough talent? And I wanted to – this is the last thing I'm going to bring up on the show as I just submitted mine, as you can see there. I want to share this screen with you here for just a minute before we get out of here. And I want to show it to you because of the Gamecock football team. And I looked up their stuff the other day. And, you know, if you're someone, you look at this thing and you're like, where is South Carolina at on this list? So if you bring this up to everyone overall, South Carolina right now, you'd kind of be surprised where they are. As far as total talent, yeah, you've got a lot of blue bloods ahead of you here. But South Carolina checks in at number 21, as you can see right there. 2 5-star athletes, 24 4-star athletes, 771 overall. But look at the teams that are behind them. Arizona State, North Carolina, Let's see here. Who else? Georgia Tech, Kentucky. There's a lot of teams that are behind South Carolina, which tells me that if you really stop and think about it, the problem with the Gamecocks isn't talent. They just don't develop it. And this proves it because you've got
get injured too. The injuries are a little problem too. The injuries have been crazy the last couple of years. If you can't see that, you're crazy.
I'm going to say something good about Will Muschamp. He could see that injuries were a problem, and a lot of guys were getting hurt over some. It just seemed like every other play. I mean, it really did. But he went and got a new strength and conditioning coach because, maybe that had something to do with it. And let's be honest, we're not doctors. But, there were a lot of injuries that just didn't make sense. Maybe this will be something that will change the Gamecocks' fortunes. But I can't sit here, especially after I know this, and say the Gamecocks don't have any talent because they do. It's either injuries, like the comrade said, or they don't have anybody there to develop it. Cale, what do you think, man?
Well, I can see a little bit of all that, but my issue is there's some talent there, but I think the talent is on the defensive side of the football. I don't think there's enough talent right there on the offensive side of the football. Now, when you were looking at this, I mean, did it take Marshawn Lloyd into account? Did it take his injury? Did it take him out of the equation?
No, and this is just total players on the roster right now, and that feeds into what Comrade was saying with injuries. South Carolina is ranked 21st in the country, 8th in the SEC. So they're ahead of Mississippi State, Arkansas, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Missouri, and Vanderbilt. Right behind Florida, Tennessee has jumped up in the rankings a good bit there. So,
is that really where we want to be, though? I mean, we shouldn't expect to be better than those teams.
I'm with you on that, Cale, but you shouldn't be losing games.
Expect to be better than those teams every year.
You have more talent than Missouri does. Okay, I mean we can agree on that. You have more talent than Missouri does, and you got your face kicked in up there. You have more talent than Appalachian State does. You got your face kicked in again. I think South Carolina and
that goes back to piss poor development, piss poor coaching, piss poor in-game coaching.
Yeah, it's in-game coaching.
You have to look at that South Carolina Appalachian State game last year. We outgained them. We doubled their yardage output. Yeah. We doubled it.
I don't think it's development. I mean, the development to me is.
All right, can you let me finish this just for a second? I'll let you have your point. Okay. I am not going to come on this show anymore, and I goof off and I run my mouth about South Carolina doesn't have shit as far as talent goes. That is not true. I'm going to be honest with the listeners of this podcast. South Carolina has talent. They have talent. And if you don't think they do, I give you, it's right here in front of you. They are just as right there in the mix with Tennessee, Florida, Mississippi State. They're a little bit more further behind the LSUs and the Auburns of the world, but they have talent. Now, as a Gamecock fan, you should take this to your friends and you should tell them, look, this is not an issue of recruiting, because it's not. It's an issue of either A, injuries, or B, your coach is dumber than dog shit and can't develop anybody.
Looking at last year, I mean, I'm on, and the year before, I'm looking at like at the receiver position, Josh Vann. I mean, he was a highly recruited kid out of high school. They thought he was going to do some great things. Where's he even fucking been? I wouldn't even know he's even been on the damn roster the past couple of years. He hasn't done shit. He hasn't done anything. I don't know that they've developed him. And some of it may be him, okay? Some of it may be on him. Right. Maybe he's not hungry enough. I mean, not playing enough, play well enough in practice. I don't know. But, I mean, he hasn't shown up. Last year, we talked about Kevin Harris, okay? Kevin Harris showed out rushed for like 200 yards against Charleston Southern. Yes, I know it's Charleston Southern. I mean, where was he the rest of the year? I know somebody say he had a little some injury hang up here and there, but he wasn't injured the whole fucking year. You never saw him again after Charleston Southern. All you saw was Rico Dowdle and Tavion Feaster. Both those dudes were seniors. Both of them were seniors. Why did the other kid not get any touches all year long? And that's what you got to rely on coming into next year. I mean, and then Jacarrion Joyner. Why could nobody settle on a position for this young man to play? I think it's amazing to me that he's still here, that he's still on our roster, and he didn't put his name in the transfer portal. That to me, that's a little bit of a testament to Muschamp and him. For all the bad things, and I know I'm gonna go off on a tangent here. I know that my videos about him are a little bit negative, okay? And I know that some of the stuff I say about him is not overly flattering. But I just want to win fucking ball games. That's the bottom line. That's your job. And, I mean, as far as a player's coach, when he came in, I didn't know that, people would gravitate him the way that they have. These kids have really gravitated to him. He's recruited a lot better than I thought he would. I thought he was just like some tyrant, like just this huge asshole that all I knew about him was watching the video of him like chewing that Florida player's ass out on the sideline and punching the damn whiteboard at halftime of the Texas game. And I'm like, God damn, I'm like, this is fucking asshole, man. I'm like, he's not even going to want to play for him. But it's like everybody gravitate towards him. It seems like they gravitate towards T-Rob, the defensive coordinator, and I mean they're bringing the kids in. They got to find that missing piece. There's something. You have A and you have C, but it's like we don't have B connecting A to C. If what I'm saying makes any sense,
right?
There.
Well, I want to give you a couple of other numbers from here. You mentioned that a lot of the players are on defense. The 5-star players that you've got are all on defense. So you're right about that. Zach Pickens and Jordan Birch. The problem with South Carolina, and I think that if you just look at it from just the recruiting rankings, which, I know that sounds like it's putting too much into those numbers, but the offensive line, you've got a bunch of 2- and 3-star guys that are in your rotation. And if you don't have that,
that's my thing. That's my thing, dude. That's where it all starts. I mean, when I played in high school in football, they talked about offensive line. My coach, David Farnham at Wade Hampton High School, said, "It's right here where it's like he made me." I played defense in 10th grade and 11th grade. I played linebacker, and I played some to come up and play defensive end. But he's like. He always kept shoving me back here and put me on fucking offensive line. I'm like, I don't want to fucking play this. I'm like, no, you're going to play it. Because, like, we sucked terrible. I mean, we were a 4A school in my 11th grade year, and, like, we had 29 kids on the roster to play varsity football. That sucks as far as numbers go. So, as you would imagine, a lot of us had to play both ways. And he kept shoving me on the offense, and I don't want to play it. I don't want to play guard. I hate this shit. And I always want to, I'd run over there to get with my defensive group. Like, get back over here. He was like, young man. He's like, when he took over as our coach in 12th grade, he said, this is where right here where it all starts. He's like, if you ain't got a good offensive line, you ain't got a good football team, period. It don't matter how good your defense is, young man. It don't matter how good your quarterback runs or your running backs. If you ain't got no offensive line, you ain't got no team. Now, did I change your mind? I'm like, yes, sir. And I went out and I did my job.
Well, I agree on that. But if you just look at the talent numbers, I mean, it says a lot. Comrade, your thoughts? Am I batshit crazy in what I'm going with here, Mike?
I would say, listen, I've always said we've had talent. The issue is 1A and 1B. Injuries, okay, is part of it. The other part is in-game coaching. I mean, the Missouri game last year is a classic. The game plan was shitty, like shitty. Now, I can't say for sure we win the game with a better game plan. I think we have a better chance, though. Part of it was that our quarterback was kind of injured in that game, wasn't healthy, and we kind of played the exact opposite. And so the one thing I have hope for this year, and I know I joke around about this stuff all the time, is I really think Bobo is a good offensive coordinator, and I think he has a plan. I don't think it's just kind of calling plays. I think he's got a plan of attack, and I think Muschamp is going to leave him alone. I think Muschamp has that respect for him. They're friends. I don't think Bobo came there to have Muschamp tell him what to do. And I think you're going to see the offense, while not as talented numbers-wise as the defense, I think you see the offense play really smart, have a game plan, and do so. I also think, I know offensive line isn't talent crazy with the Stars. We have a great O-line coach, and I think he will get the most out of those guys as a unit. I think they're going to be. I think they're our unsung kind of commodity this year. I think the O-line is going to play well this year. Now we have to stay healthy on top of that. Defense, I think, is going to be really good. The linebackers is a little bit of an issue, but I like our secondary. I like our D linemen. I think Muschamp develops people. I mean, I go by development by what he gets out of them and how they do the next level. They all play well the next level. Look at Kinlaw this past weekend. They had the top grades of any lineman. So he develops people the next level. Look at Hayden Hurst. Okay, he develops people the next level. So development's not a problem. It's in-game coaching, okay, game plan-wise, especially offense. It makes no sense from week to week. And the injuries, because they're not deep enough still. And so when they go down with a bunch of injuries, suddenly now they can't get out the field defensively. So, I mean, but at the comment, I don't think it's development, though. I don't think it's development. You can always have guys like Josh Van. You can have guys that are coming highly recruited, they don't pan out. But you're also going to have guys who come in as 2 and 3 stars who develop, unreal too. So you're always going to have – Clemson has those same things too. Clemson's got guys who come in as 4 stars and 5 stars and don't pan out. Look at Xavier Thomas. Okay, I mean that just happened. That's not really the coaching staff. That's just, I think, the kind of the numbers game and how things happen.
To be fair, Mike, Tater fan will tell you that Xavier Thomas didn't have his breakout year last year because they switched to a 3-man front so that Isaiah Simmons could have all glory.
Well, as the person that supports Clemson on this podcast, I think that Thomas has a case of the Clowney. He's lazy. He's a lazy fuck. That's my opinion.
But Clowney produced in college. So.
He wasn't too lazy to go look for that Ford Explorer when that gal stole it.
Yeah. You don't gain 40 fucking pounds.
Is it really stealing though when you leave the keys laying?
I have a problem with comparing the Clowney. Clowney produced in college. Clowney produced enough to be the number 1 draft pick in the NFL. So either
Clowney looked like shit his senior year because everybody was fucking double teaming that son of a bitch.
They did, and that was NFL scouts said that
he couldn't bring that big dick energy because he was just
And we found out too because when he had his knee surgery in the NFL, we heard his knee. When he had his knee surgery, they said the knee damage he had in the NFL from that when he had that bad turf, that he had the knee issues and way before then too, because his knee was, so he was playing on a bad wheel too. But NFL scouts all said when they broke down his film that he was the most game planned against defensive player in the country, and his presence made the Gamecock defense really good. And as we found out the next year, Clowney in 13 did not have a great year stat wise. Suddenly he leaves, and suddenly the whole defense looked a lot shittier, real quick. Okay, from a guy who didn't put up much stats defensively in 13, the 14 team couldn't freaking stop me.
That's true. So that Lorenzo Whammy Ward defense in 2013 was like a fucking cheap nightmare. And to that point, I mean, Clowney in 2013, I mean, despite all the double teams and everything that he suffered, I mean, he still he still put up some decent numbers, and that Kentucky game when he made the decision, he had to sit out that he didn't want to. He had to sit out at the end. He had bruised ribs, and I heard it from Todd Ellis's own mouth that an injury like that would put a normal kid in intensive care for 2 to 3 days. And he walked out there on the sideline with his team, and he stood there. I mean, that's a testament to how tough he really is. You're really, really underselling him.
I just go by what his coaches said. So 2 different coaches have said he's lazy. So that's why.
One of them was Spurrier. And Spurrier shouldn't talk about football.
We don't know about him. We know for a fact he was drunk in a postseason.
Spurrier should not be calling anybody lazy.
You have two coaches.
He was drunk in that post-game UCF interview that year.
Keep in mind that Spurrier, Nick Chubb came to see Spurrier 3 times as a high school recruit, and Spurrier wasn't there. And Spurrier's quote was, "Sometimes you're in town, sometimes you're not." Okay, so
sometimes you gotta go play golf.
Sometimes you gotta play golf.
Let's take Edwin's comment. Bottom line, Muschamp has not had any problem. Won't have decent defenses. His mindset is or decent offenses. His mindset is so defensive oriented, and he won't budge. You know what? That's a very valid point. They've never finished above. A Muschamp team has never finished above 8th in total offense in the SEC. Will he shut up and do what the comrade wants him to do, which is don't acknowledge the offensive huddle?
Well, real quick though. I mean, listen. That point makes no sense though. You're making it say he's so defensive minded. What do you mean? Like he don't care? I don't understand what you're trying to say. So he's so worried about defense, he don't care about the offense. No. I want him not to care about offense. I want him to not give a shit about the offense. It's the opposite. He cares too much about the offense, and he sticks his nose in the offense when he doesn't know anything about the offense.
Brother.
Okay? I wish that was the case. I wish he was so defensive minded that he did not even talk to the offense.
I'm trying to tap you on the screen. When you're doing a radio show, you need to listen to your co-host. I point blank said Mike doesn't want him anywhere near the fucking huddle.
I know.
Listen to what I'm saying.
Well, you said he has a good point. You go, Edwin's got. You said first he's got a good point. He does not have a good point.
He has a good point, and he won't budge. He wants to get in the huddle.
No, that's not what he said. He said
at least at South Carolina, we have at least put out some decent quarterbacks on the field under Muschamp to give us a chance to win. I mean, Ryan Helinski, I think, is a good kid, a good quarterback, and I think he's got some good things ahead of him. Jake Bentley, I think, was a really good quarterback. I think that the kid had some issues as far as his game management that made him not a good quarterback at times. So talent level, I think, was through the roof. You look at some of the turd burgers that he trotted out there at Florida. Jeff Driscoll, the Treon Harris, that fucking Del Rio guy. And you got to admit that we're at least with Muschamp, we're doing things in spite of him here.
All right. Well, I tell you what, man, I'm looking forward to this week's games, and we'll have a more in-depth look at this stuff as we get closer and closer to SEC play coming up here. We're 10 days away from South Carolina playing Tennessee. Looking forward to that. By the way, I want to be Santa Claus tonight. You guys have a problem with that there, comrade? Kale?
Sure, go ahead.
Pause for a moment.
I have no problem with anybody wanting to be Santa Claus.
Broccoli watches our show every week. I want to put him into our contest if he has not entered. Brock, have you entered the contest or not? If you have, then that's fine. If you haven't, I want to put you in the contest. You can go to the website or the robincomrade.com website, and you can get in just for supporting our show. We appreciate you watching every week, sir. So you are a week behind, but you can get in with your picks this week. And you may run into what I did last week. Comrade told me the last 2 weeks of the season, I went 7-16 Sally, and I was leading the whole damn thing. Sally Donegan went 17-6. It was something like that. And she ended up taking the whole thing. So if you will do the picks every week, I would love to have you, Brock. You watch the show every week, and we appreciate you. So go to RobandComrade.com.
I want you to look at all in the chat at all of the comments from YouTube. I really appreciate that, guys, from the Carolina Jackpot channel. I really do. Thank you for all the views. And give this thing a thumbs up if you haven't already. That really helps us out as far as getting the traffic out and driving people towards these videos and just growing it bigger, bigger, and bigger. And, if they don't get a chance to watch the video, they listen to the podcast. And listening to the podcast is great, too. That helps us out tremendously as well. So thank you for all the views over there. And just keep sharing the content of the show, because we really enjoy doing it and bringing it to you.
Yeah, but Brock, make sure you get in. If you have any issues, man, I don't know how to contact you. I just see your name over there on the YouTube screen. It doesn't tell me how I can,
We used to be able to direct message people on YouTube, but I took that functionality away a couple of years ago.
Yeah, well, you can reach out to me on Twitter. I'm at Rob Sounds Good. However you want to do it, but I'd like to get you in because I think that you'll make good picks. So there you go. And they don't have a problem with me being Santa Claus, somebody that supports the show. So thank you for that. Comrade, do you guys have anything else for the show tonight?
I got a little tip for you. For those who like to gamble or like watching golf, U.S. Open starts tomorrow. My pick to win it is Jon Rahm. Look for Jon Rahm win his first major. A sleeper pick, though, to get a little sleeper action. Someone off the grid a little bit to watch is Viktor Hovland. Viktor Hovland played up in Winged Foot, New York. I played that course twice in my life. Tough as balls. It's probably tougher. It's probably the toughest course I played. The Ocean course in Kiawah Island, I think it's a little bit tougher because I played on the windy day.
Winged Foot.
But Winged Foot's in New York City, just outside New York City.
Outside New York City?
Yeah.
Oh, I heard of it.
Well, I've had fun, gentlemen. I appreciate you guys checking out the show. Brock, if you don't know how to get in, just message one of us, man. You can find us in several different spots. I'm on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good. Comrades at the Pesky Pole.
Before we get out of here, I want to throw one more game out there. It's not on our board, but see what you all thought about it. The Notre Dame is at home against South Florida. They're laying 26 points at home against USF, who won last week 27-6 against the Citadel. And I was just looking at that, and I thought, man, it's really weird. I was like, thinking about Jeff Scott and the success that he's had as an offensive coordinator against Notre Dame. But then I look back at their game against the Citadel, and they really didn't win it by that much. And one of those touchdowns, was like a garbage thing where Citadel punted behind themselves into the end zone, and the kid caught it and scored a touchdown. So I don't know. I picked Notre Dame to cover in that game. I just think that when they play teams like that at home, sometimes they'll have a huge showing like they did last year when they were favored by like 40 against Bowling Green. They ended up winning like 55-0. So I just went with them in that spot. I think last week that they really didn't show up against Duke until like late in the game, but I think their defense is legit.
I like Notre Dame to cover, and I'm going to go P. Comrade, close the show.
All right, Hunter, real quick. Hunter asked, how did I get in the Ocean course? Hunter, in a former lifetime of mine, I used to be an academic advisor at a boarding school for elite junior golfers. And one of my perks was I could get on any course I wanted to get on. I lived in Hilton Head. I would play Harbor Town twice a week. And we'd go to the Ocean course, and I go to TPC Sawgrass and all that stuff there too. So that's back in my single days, no kids. And I used to golf all the time, and then work in between golf. So that was how I got in there. But that's it, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on Sunday night. Bye, guys.
See you guys.
No, Brock. I was an academic advisor. I was not the golf part. Now, I was a 3 handicap back in the day. I haven't played in a while now. I was a decent golfer. I wasn't a golf coach. I was a high school golf coach at one time, but I wasn't a golf coach at the academy. The golf coaches at the academy were like Hank Haney and Gary Gilchrist, guys who coached like Tiger Woods and Michelle Wie. Those are the golf coaches at the academy. And so I would actually get lessons from them sometimes, and I'd kind of pick their brain. And so later on, when I was a high school golf coach, I would kind of use that stuff there too. But I wasn't a golf coach at the academy. I did academic stuff and made sure the kids were going to classes, making sure they were getting tutoring set up, and making sure they're doing their SAT stuff. And a lot of them are going to college to play golf and things like that. So being the kind of the liaison between getting their college paperwork stuff in and all that stuff. And so I did that, and my perks of doing all that was I got to play golf for free and got to play with some junior golfers who a couple went on the tour. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right, comrade. Hey, man, great show, buddy. You guys rock. And with that, this show is over. It's out. I'm done.
Bye, guys.